Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be taking a look at probably one of the most popular helmets on the Druid, and that is the Tempest Roar. The Tempest Roar has been updated for 1.5.0, and I wanted to go over it and talk about some of the things that they changed, and also what kind of has stayed the same. So first off, they throw willpower on there, which is 76 to 90. It's a lot higher than it was before. It also has 5 to 13 maximum resource on here, which I'm not exactly sure about the motivation for the maximum resource because I don't believe the Druid has any way to scale damage based on maximum resource. The Barbarian has Ramalani's, the Barbarian has Kick, the Necromancer has Bone Spirit and Bone Spear. There are lots of ways to scale based on maximum resource. The Rogue has Beastfall Boots these days, but I don't think the Barbarian, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the Barbarian has any way to scale based on maximum resource, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure why they decided to throw that on there. It also has 32 to 40% lightning resistance, which is kind of a wasted stat. And on top of that, it also has 1 to 2 to wild impulses. Wild impulses, I'm pretty sure, let's go ahead and put it on so that we can easily see it as it adds points to it, is the core skills cost 3% more spirit, but deal 5% increased damage. So it's going to give you a little bit more damage output at the cost of increasing the cost of the ability, which you can then offset, hopefully, through your equipment. Like, you know, for instance, like maybe if you're using Ring of the Starless Skies or like the sky, the starlight aspect and so forth and so on, can definitely make things a little bit more interesting. Now, on top of this, it also has a special effect, and the special effect is really the only reason people come to this helmet. I was hoping that the changes would change the stats on it to be a little bit better in terms of like just usability, but it's just still kind of mediocre. The main effect is that storm skills have up to a 35% chance to grant Force Spirit, and your base storm skills now become werewolf skills. Now what this does is that it basically adds the tag to all of your storm skills, and they become werewolf skills. So if you have lightning storm, tornado, wind shear, storm strike, it doesn't matter, cyclone armor, hurricane, even cataclysm, they all will become werewolf skills and also shapeshifting skills. Notice that now they have the shapeshifting and they have the werewolf tags added to them, which means that they are now shapeshifting and werewolf. And this also means that they scale based on all those modifiers as well. So if you have anything that is scaling based on, you know, like whether you're a werewolf or not, or if you have paragon glyphs that scale based on being a werewolf or even shapeshifting, you can activate these things. Like for instance, I have one that gives me a 30% chance when shapeshifting to gain a barrier that absorbs 15% of my maximum life. And if I was utilizing, say, you know, like the tornadoes as an example, then now I'm shapeshifting into a werewolf, which means that I could potentially grab that barrier. And there are plenty of bonuses in here that can potentially help you in that regard to get specific bonuses. So you're going to have to like keep your eyes out for what specifically the Tempest Roar is going to do for you. Now you don't always need this. Sometimes it's better to turn, you know, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you're not building the werewolf aspects of things, then you don't really need to build Tempest Roar. There are also other ways to turn werewolf skills into a storm skill, which is the other way around. Like for instance, Claw becoming a storm skill when you use something like the Great Staff of the Crone is in the opposite direction. So in this case, Claw becomes a storm skill instead of the Storm Strike becoming a werewolf skill, which is the opposite way. Now, if you wear both of these together, however, like the Great Staff of the Crone and the Tempest Roar together, then Claw becomes a storm skill, and also storm skills become werewolf skills, so the Storm Strike becomes a werewolf skill.
Mr. Goody Two Shoes, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Ginger Evil Mentor here. Why bother farming when you can go to MMOEXP.com and simply purchase your items in gold? GGM would have you farm the items. What a pathetic being. Use code GEM Ginger Evil Mentor for 6% off your entire purchase. And don't tell Ginger Gaming Mentor that I was here.
And so now you have two werewolf skills that you're using at the same time, essentially, which is kind of interesting. So in this particular case, like say, for instance, I put on the Great Staff of the Crone, you'll notice that my Claw now has the Storm modifier on it, But my Storm Strike doesn't have the Werewolf modifier. However, if I throw Tempest Roar on, now my Storm Strike also has the Werewolf modifier. So now I have the Werewolf modifier and the Storm modifier on both of these abilities, which means that for scaling purposes, they now function as both Storm skills and Werewolf skills if I go that particular route, which is pretty crazy. The Tempest Roar is still just a really good helmet if you're trying to make specific builds. It's pretty much required, honestly, for very specific builds. Like if you're doing like the Storm Wolf tornadoes and things like that, you have to have a Tempest Roar. The special flavor text on this is "Listen, child, to the music of the storm. It has its own rhythm, its own melody. Hear how beautifully it sings, and perhaps one day you will be able to join in its harmony." Arida. Now, if you're looking to obtain this particular item, it's actually not that hard to obtain. It is basically just from Duriel and Indariel. As you hunt for this particular item, I'm sure you'll find plenty of them if you go farm a little bit of Andy and a little bit of Duriel. Tempest Roar, as you can see, Duriel and Indariel, Maiden of Anguish. This particular item got an overhaul just like Vasily's Prayer. And in my personal opinion, Vasily's Prayer is so much better of an overhaul than Tempest Roar. Vasily's Prayer is amazing in terms of like what they did to overhaul it. Tempest Roar, on the other hand, is kind of mediocre. It's wishy-washy. They threw a resistance on there. Who cares? The Wild Impulses is nice, but the maximum resource is a complete miss because I just don't really understand how that's actually going to help the Druid in any way, shape, or form. I mean, at least it has some willpower on it, I guess, which is something. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're just going over an older helmet like Tempest Roar. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to think about the changes to Tempest Roar. Do you think it was a good change? Do you think it was stupid? Let me know. As always, hit that like button and subscribe button if you enjoy the videos, and keep watching.